This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
You know, there's a name for what happens to the economy when you have high inflation, slower growth, and high unemployment going on at the same time. It basically is it's a tornado that we like to call stagflation. It's rare, but the last time we saw it was back in the 1970s. And now economist Frances Donald tells CNBC that she's worried it will be returning.
We have job gains that have moderated. We have inflation that has moved up. And that's okay for right now because the unemployment rate hasn't broken out. The bottom hasn't fallen out. One of these sides of this stagflation environment is going to break. And the Fed is not going to have the same luxury middle of 2026 as it does now to play both sides of that. This equilibrium that we're in, it's not going to last forever. Our view is that inflation is going to turn out to be the real problem. And heading into 2026, this Fed is going to have to slow down here when they see inflation rising further into Q1.
We all know that inflation could easily be the silent killer of your retirement plan and your income plan if you're not prepared. So how can those nearing retirement make sure that their income is going to keep pace with inflation, even if the stock market starts to cool off, Mark?
Well, there's a number of things we can do. I mean, with some products, there's actually contractually assured cost of living increases that can be built into our strategies and all. I think the more important thing is really not the financial tools that we use, because a good professional will be able to devise a portfolio to outpace inflation and protect you. I think the biggest lesson we ought to get out of this is twofold. One is that these pundits don't typically know what they're talking about. I mean, God alone knows what's coming, and we've been hearing talk of stagflation for the last 5 years, and none of us really know where the world is headed entirely. And the second observation that comes from that is we have to be flexible. I mean, the ultimate message from all of this is that things change, and you and I don't have control over the world economy, and certainly don't have control over the national economy. We just have to adapt a flexible and adaptive mentality so that what comes in life we can respond to. This is why I've always been such a big advocate of what I call the two-pocket strategy. We have to have at least two pockets of money, some in the market, some out of the market, for example, that's principal protected. We've got to have different sources of assets that can be converted to income, and so we just have to think more broadly than just a traditional mutual fund portfolio. So I thank her for bringing up the importance of recognizing change. I don't know that I'm going to buy in completely to her prognosis immediately, but yes, we all have to be adaptable, and that's a great lesson to learn here.
Yeah, the double C's here, change and control. And you're right, we can't control what's happening in the economy. I don't have a crystal ball. As far as I know, you don't have a crystal ball.
No,
so,
I don't.
Really, we don't have control over all these different moving parts. But what you have control over is your income plan, your financial plan. If you're just sitting back kind of riding the wave and going, well, I'll just figure it out when the dust settles, you're not taking control of your financial future. Essentially, you're kind of taking yourself down at the end of the day. So if you're looking to find control, to look at what your future is going to look like, despite stagflation and inflation and much more, give a call to Mark today. Again, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. The website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Economist Alicia Munnell, and she's actually the director of the Center for the Retirement Research in Boston. She is said to be one of the nation's experts on retirement. When asked what the key to a successful retirement is, she says, well, don't retire. So while admitting her advice doesn't work for everyone due to maybe health issues, she insists that working as long as you possibly can and getting the top Social Security payment means you'll have a shorter time to support yourself. What are your thoughts on this? Don't most people say we want to help you retire, not don't retire?
It's a very, very personal thing, and I think she's lived this example for her own family, because I think she's just preparing to retire now. I mean, she's a very well-respected woman in our financial community, but she has worked into her later years, and most Americans would do better thinking longer in the workforce. We really ought to be thinking, most people should be thinking towards age 70 versus age 65. It really is a function of longevity. Back when Social Security was instituted, the benefit was to kick in at 65, and life expectancy was 62 then. So the original idea of retirement was just a couple years at best. Now people are thinking 2-3 decades. And so there's a lack of purpose for many people. The studies show overwhelmingly that those who stay engaged physically, emotionally, psychologically in the world, those people will live longer and they're happier. And so she's right. Staying in the workforce is not only better financially, but it's actually better for our physical and mental health in so many ways. But physical and mental health can change, and So I would say there's two parts of that. There's a balancing act here. Yes, people should think generally about working longer, but this is a very, very personal decision, and that's why we are a sounding board for people. If people are struggling with these questions, come talk to us, and we can help you see what maybe you haven't considered before, and then make a more informed choice. If you want to stay in the workforce, if you want to slowly phase out of the workforce, or if you want to quickly jump out. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways we can go into retirement very quickly, progressively. We just got to look at your situation. Very, very personal consideration.
Absolutely. And everybody's situation is different. I was reading a Market Watch article recently that said 56% of people lack access to a retirement plan through their workplace. This is according to the Economic Innovation Group, by the way. 56% don't have access to a retirement plan through their workplace. I mean, that is big numbers, Mark. Those individuals that are thinking, what do I do? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I actually wrote a letter to the editor once on this topic because we had an elected official here at the state level. I won't name names, but she felt like too few people have access to retirement plans at work, and therefore the state should develop a program that compels everyone to participate. And I wrote back in response saying, you're wrong, because there's plenty of opportunities for people who want to participate and prepare for retirement. You can go into any bank, any credit union, any insurance agency, any investment firm, and pretty much anyone can participate in individual retirement accounts. If you don't have a 401k at work, there are things you can do outside of the workplace. You're not disabled just because your employer isn't behaving like a parent and providing everything to you. People have to take responsibility. So that would be my message to this, is we've got to shift away from the thinking that the government or some third party like an employer is responsible for our future financial security. Each of us has to take our responsibility for our own lives, and there are plenty of resources out there, such as this radio show, encouraging people to take responsibility for their own lives, and if they need help, to come visit with us, because we're happy to do that. You know, I hire professionals to do all the things that I'm incompetent at, like plumbing and anything in the house. I mean, I can barely change a light bulb. So I hire a lot of people who can do things competently the first time. It's cheaper for me, and I get a better outcome. And my wife's a heck of a lot happier when I don't screw it up. And it's the same thing with retirement planning. If people are intimidated or just don't understand, they need to learn more, well, come visit with professionals. That's what we're here for. That's why we constantly are giving these invitations. Come visit with us. Come to our free educational events. We do events at the college. We do events, we've got a 25-person classroom here in my office where we're regularly doing events, and these are all free to the community. We want to sensitize people to these issues, but ultimately each of us has to take responsibility for ourselves, and that's today's invitation. Take responsibility for your future. We're here to help.
Exactly. Take responsibility for your financial future. Again, that phone number, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. MyGoldenYearsRoadmap.com is, of course, the website. If you have been joining us for quite some time, we appreciate you. We always love hearing from you. And most importantly, guys, we know it's not easy out there. It's crazy things happening with, I guess, the market, the economy. And a lot of people are standing still, frozen in time, if you will, going, with all this uncertainty from day to day, maybe if I just stay still, nothing will happen. What do you say to those that are kind of stuck in this paralysis analysis thing?
If you stay still, nothing will happen. I agree with that.
Good or bad, essentially, maybe.
Yeah, don't get paralyzed. I am so optimistic about the future of the world and this country. We live in an unprecedented era in human history. Things are constantly getting better. Yes, simultaneously, I think some things are constantly getting worse. I mean, culturally and morally in many ways. But I am optimistic about the future. So one of the best things we can do is turn off the financial media, because they're constantly contradicting each other, and their whole purpose is to try to convince you that they've got some kind of insight into the future. And ultimately what they're doing, I think, is a form of financial pornography. They're designed to get you excited so that you'll trade in your portfolio and generate fees for Wall Street, who sponsoring those financial gurus. So turn them off. And think long-term. True investors think in terms of decades, not minutes or weeks or days or anything like that. Come visit with us, and we can help give you the perspective for how to think long-term. There's so much more people can do to improve their situation than they realize.
Yeah, probably bigger and better ways to improve. I want to make sure you get the phone number here, 702-996-4050. And you were talking about kind of the noise that we're all seeing and hearing in the headlines. And you went right into my next point here about, really the left doesn't know what the right's doing. The right doesn't know what the left's doing. I was going through one of my news feeds and literally back to back, here was these two headlines. One said, odds are good the market has finally bottomed. Another one says, Vanguard warns of a dramatic market slowdown ahead. A great example of why you just can't let the headlines guide your investment decisions.
That's absolutely right. I mean, there's just so many opinions out there. What's that expression about everyone's got an opinion, just like everyone's got something else? It's
yep.
So there's only so much value to that. Yes, we should learn from every source that we can. But recognize that some sources are compromised, and I'm really big on this when it comes to the national financial media. So many of them are sponsored by these Wall Street firms that profit from the anxiety that these financial gurus create. Their whole goal is to get you to trade in your underwear at night over the internet simply because you can. And that's why I call it a form of pornography. It's designed to get us excited and do things that, frankly, are self-harmful. And so turn off the financial media, learn from those sources that are out there. Now, of course, I don't mean our radio show. Don't turn that off.
Absolutely not. But the talking heads on TV are crazy.
These national types that are sponsored by these big organizations that profit off of your misery, those are the ones we need to stop listening to. And there's so much more people can do to improve their situation than they realize. Don't get paralyzed. Just act, one step at a time, and you can get yourself over time to a very, very secure future.
And that's what it's about, is having that secure future, not kind of waiting up at night, seeing what and if the stock market's doing this or who said what on TV or what headline you saw. We want you to enter retirement with not a care in the world, give you that financial freedom. We talked about that earlier. And the one way to do this is to have the confidence and the financial freedom and come in and put together a complimentary income plan. That is with Mark one-on-one. So don't worry about anything else. Worry about what's going on in your financial plan and how it's going to benefit you moving forward, of course. 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. 22 years ago, Michael Jordan retired from the NBA for the third and final time. Fast forward to last month, and Jordan's 1986 rookie card was just auctioned off for a record $2.7 million. That right there is insane, Mark. Can you believe that?
I can, unfortunately, but it's still hard to get the mind around.
He is an amazing player, always and forever. Him and LeBron and Kobe, they will always be the greats. But, man, $2.7 million. Well, yet all of his fame and fortune, Jordan made this surprising confession recently when he was on NBC Sports. Listen to this.
I haven't picked up a ball in years. I wish I could take a magic pill, put on shorts, and go out and play the game of basketball today. Because that type of competition, that type of competitiveness is what I live for. And I miss it. I miss that aspect of playing the game of basketball. Being able to challenge myself against what people see as great basketball.
Interesting there. Can you believe after all these years he hasn't even picked up a basketball? That seems so strange to me.
Yes, and yet it kind of makes sense that people might step away, This is one of the great challenges of retirement is, what is going to drive us in the future. Those things that drove us prior to retirement may be entirely different than what drives us, emotionally and spiritually and psychologically, in our later years of life. People have to have a sense of purpose, and that's what gives us passion, is having a sense of purpose. There's a great study done by Dr. Riley Moynes up in Canada. He's a PhD who talks about the 4 phases of retirement. The first phase is celebration. Second phase is kind of disappointment, bit of despair for people as they realize that, it doesn't feel like vacation anymore. How am I going to spend my days? The third phase that many people never get to is that period of exploration and experimentation. And then the fourth phase that too few people get to is when they find their sense of purpose and they have that passion that drives them forward. And so first bit of homework I give people who come to our classes down at the college is, how are you going to spend your days in retirement? What are you going to do to actually drive your heart and soul so that it becomes the most rewarding period of your life? That's really what it can and should be. And so, what he's expressing is very normal, I think. And each of us is going to experience it on some scale unless we start thinking ahead. Let's start planning for the future, because what causes disappointment at the end of the day isn't it unmet expectations.
Absolutely. When you have that coulda, shoulda, woulda feeling, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so if we haven't thought about things, then life is just going to play out the way life will play out without us having any input or control over our personal circumstance. That's what's so important and so wonderful about this planning process. It's like planning a vacation trip. This journey through retirement is something that we actually can influence for the good if we're willing to put the mental energy into planning. So if this is a new idea for you, come visit with us. We can ask you some questions, get you thinking, share books with you. We can help you. We want this to be the most rewarding phase of life, and we've learned enough from 30-plus years of talking through these issues with people. We can help you. Come visit with us.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.